Good evening, everyone. At any rate, I'd like to welcome you to our June 26th board meeting, and we will reconvene our open session now. Okay, were there any actions taken in closed session?
Yes, there were. On a 5-0 vote with trustee Jamal absent and trustee Rydell abstaining, took action in closed session to release a classified administrator pursuant to Education Code Section 7241.5 and has authorized the chancellor or designee to take all steps necessary to effect the decision.
Thank you, trustee.
Wait, I'm sorry, it's on a different page. Thank you. Okay, this is a different one. On a 6-0 vote with trustee Jamal absent, the board took action in closed session to deny a student's appeal of an administrative determination of unlawful discrimination.
All right, thank you, trustee Inman. All right, now we will have trustee Carol Inman for our invocation, and we will have trustee Barbara J. for our pledge allegiance. Stand, please.
Make new friends, but keep the old. One is silver and the other's gold. Yes, it's true. This is a nursery rhyme from my youth, but I often think of these things when I think of how they apply to adults. We feel sad and happy at the same time. Sad to have lost some of our leaders, Heidi, Dan, others. Happy to get to work with new leaders, Rebecca, Caitlin, and others. And we welcome back Margot. We are in a time of change and transition. I have heard there is nothing for sure except change. Change is not only inevitable, but is also good. Our group will be different, the open opportunities to listen to innovative ideas and different points of view. Becoming a leader is a big decision. The workload, stress, and endless meetings scare off many potential leaders, but it did not scare you off. Thank you for stepping up. We sometimes hear, we want your input. I don't want to have input. I want to have influence. As leaders, we can have input, but also influence, impact, and maybe even to inspire people. Congratulations, and thank you for serving.
Now for the Pledge of Allegiance to our wonderful flag and wonderful country.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get started with our trustee reports, we have, I should say, a surprise but very honored guest with us tonight. So I would like to have trustee Marcia Melchiker introduce them, and Marcia?
Yeah, thank you so much, trustee Whit-Rydell. I've got a few remarks today, and I'm not going to give a board report, so please allow me to say a few words. I'm delighted to have the opportunity to honor our enormously incredible Saddleback College Mars Rover team members and their advisors this evening. I can honestly say I've never worked with such an exceptional group of individuals before. I know there are many other individuals at the college that do wonderful work, and you could see many of this when you read the college president's reports in the board meeting. But I have worked for quite some time with these students, and they are incredible, every single one of them. They're brilliant, hardworking, and incredibly nice and helpful to each other. Now, trustee Barbara J. asked me to really explain about the Mars Rover project and what it is, so I'm going to do that. So thank you for suggesting that. The University Rover Challenge is the world's premier robotics competition for colleges and universities students. It's held in the deserts of southern Utah. This challenge challenges students to learn to design and build the next generation of Mars rovers that will one day work alongside astronauts to explore the red planet. It would be great if our rover went up there to Mars. The URC constantly draws an international field of the most talented and promising students in the world. Listening to the NASA podcast, and I recommend that, is like listening to the most exciting science fiction, but it's real. The names of the 5 previous rovers that have been sent to Mars, the Sojourner, Spirit, Opportunity, Curiosity, and Perseverance, are just incredible. And their purpose is to find the existence of microbial life on Mars and pave the way for humans. Among the many scientific experiments on Perseverance is one known as MOXIE, and that changes some of the carbon dioxide into oxygen for the people that would be living on Mars to be able to survive there. These NASA scientists, work tirelessly to build the rovers, and when the conditions are right, they send them off like parents, holding their breaths and sending their children away forever, never to be seen again, but knowing that these rovers are designed to be the happiest on Mars. The Saddleback College Mars rover students are just like these NASA scientists. They work tirelessly with their advisors, Professor Mitch Hayari and Professor Jim Repka, and also advisor Jason Smith. They meet every Sunday afternoon and literally built this rover from scratch, and they named it Helios. And when this competition is over, which it is over, they'll begin anew on the next rover. One of our most supportive judges, Dr. Jennifer Blank, a NASA scientist, said in this podcast, Ask an Astrobiologist, that to be successful, you have to find what you love to do, and you will never work a day in your life. And also find your tribe. These students have found their tribe here at Saddleback College. They assist each other, support each other, and never have a bad word to say about each other, successful or not. It's just remarkable. This university rover competition took place in Hanksville, Utah, population 200. Our journey was there from May 29th to June the 4th. We traveled about 14 hours in the Saddleback van to Utah and back again. And the students played some great music. And as we approached Capitol Reef National Park and we saw these incredible geologic formations, I just reflected on how fortunate I was to have this opportunity to be there with them. The 3-day multifaceted competition took place at the Mars Society Desert Research Station in southern Utah, which is about 3.5 hours south of Salt Lake City and about 5.5 hours north of Las Vegas. It looks like you're on Mars, but Professor Repka, who teaches geology, said it's more like you're on the moon. But anyway, it's really out in the middle of nowhere, but it's just beautiful. The 104 teams competed to get into the competition, and 37 teams from 10 countries were selected to complete the finals, and Saddleback College was one of them, the only community college to make it. And who didn't make it? Berkeley and Caltech. So that was kind of, and they do the real rovers, you know. These rovers had 4 challenges: roving, picking up a heavy toolbox with the requisite arm on the rover, putting it into a box, opening the drawer, shutting the drawer, screwing in a screw, and doing an autonomous roving. And they had to collect 4 samples and some rocks. And then the science team had built their testing apparatus and had to answer science questions, identify the rocks, and tested the soil sample they gathered. Every task was done remotely. To identify living organisms, the science team determined that they would use the luciferase reaction, the same reaction that fireflies use to light up. And this reaction identifies ATP, which is ubiquitous in living organisms. And so it will tell if there's a living organism in that soil sample. And they actually use the photomultiplier tube to be able to tell if quantitatively if there was actually ATP in the soil sample. I was just incredibly impressed. Remarkably, the team ranked 20 in the competition, and the science team 13. Our community college scored higher than these universities: Cornell, University of Wisconsin, University of Oklahoma, and the universities in Warsaw, Istanbul, Egypt, and Bangladesh, to name a few. Our team members assisted and interacted with other team members so well and helped them, and I was so proud of them. Impressively, everyone at the competition were volunteers, including the NASA scientists, judges, the president, the photographers, and the locals who handed out hamburgers on the final barbecue, including Professor Hari, physics and astronomy, Professor Ryapka, geology, Professor Jason, and of course me, science and biology. Everyone's volunteers. Sincere thanks to our hardworking and caring professors and the student, Jacob Feingold, who was the team leader, and who did an incredible job, and a completely remarkable job of keeping everyone focused, together, and happy. He's off to Berkeley next year. And the science team who I worked with, Lori Soji, Renee Lee, and Kylie Kerrigan, who was watched over so proudly by her big brother, Liam Kerrigan, also on the team. All team members will be introduced and find out what they're majoring in, but you all were incredibly remarkable. Many of you are off to universities next year, since we're the only two-year school out of all the four-year schools, and don't forget they had grad students helping them as well. We don't have any grad students here. To watch the remarkable achievement of the Saddleback Robotics this year, go to the Saddleback Robotics YouTube channel, and the Saddleback College media production team, including Mad Brodette, helped in the video. I understand that the automotive department helped with the tires, so it was essentially a team effort. Google Saddleback College Robotics to learn more about the Rover team and to join it for this upcoming year. Thank you. So. So thank you. And I think Professor Hayari and perhaps Jason and perhaps Professor Repka might like to say a few words. But at least Professor Hayari would like to say a few words and either introduce the team, or they would introduce themselves and say what they're majoring in. These are really incredible students.
Ben is here.
Well, thank you very much. I don't think I can top that from Trustee Milchinker, but I'm not going to go over the details of the URC. But let me start by saying, yes, we scored 20 out of 114, and I'm going to say this over and over again, but we were able to beat some very high-profile universities, and we were the only two-year college there. I know that's been said over and over again here. But anyway, I would like to thank several people. And this college has been incredibly supportive of this whole Rover project. It's been going on for the past 5 years, all the way from our Dean, Deanita, through our Vice President of Instruction, Tram, all the way up through President Stern's office. So a big thank you to all of you. And the biggest thanks goes to these students. They volunteered countless hours to this project. It was so funny because they're working so hard. It's 1 a.m, 2 a.m, I can't remember here. And I decided I got to get these guys some sugar or something, okay, and keep them going. So I went out and bought a box of fudge and brought it back, and nobody touched anything. It's like, oh, all that for naught. But in any event, and we also had some great co-advisors. Jason Smith at the end there. He's our astronomy technician. Professor Repka, geology. And very importantly, we didn't have a biologist advisor, and that's when Trustee Milchinker stepped in, and we just stood there going, yes, 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 yes. Okay, we can definitely use the help of a biologist. So in sum, Saddleback College has some of the best STEM students nationwide, international-wide. We can take any of our STEM students and put them up against STEM students at prominent four-year universities. One thing this Rover project has enabled is transfers. So a lot of our students are transferring to the university of their choice. In fact, one year we had 5 STEM students transfer to Berkeley. In my department, that's unheard of, all right? And that's been propagating on and on. So I've known this since I've been teaching here for, I don't want to age myself, but since 1986, that we have probably the best STEM students around. But this is just proof of that, okay? That's Jim? Okay, okay. And I'm going to let our president, Jacob, introduce the team. Not all the team is here, okay? And then we'll be done.
There's more?
Thank you, Professor. I'm Jacob Feingold. I've been a team lead this past year. I'm joined up here by Sam Lee, Ryan Hasty, Cameron Rosenthal, Sawyer Trumbley, Renee Lay, Kylie Kerrigan, Liam Kerrigan, and then our advising team.
And Brooks.
And then Brooks Blanker as well. Trustee Milchick really said it. It's been a college-wide team effort this year. She mentioned the automotive department helped us construct our aluminum chassis this year. And then the video production department helped us make our systems acceptance review video, which was key to getting us to the in-person competition. And then the ATAS department as well has helped us tremendously with manufacturing. I've been a part of the rover team for 2 development cycles, and beyond all the technical growth and the skills I've gained, what surprised me most is the camaraderie that this project brings about. Year before this was a totally different group of students. A lot of them did transfer, and this year was a lot of new members, and saw people come together hugely over the past year. It's a year-long project. So we started last fall. We've been working all year. So I just want to thank the team for their many, many hours spent in the lab this year, our advising team for taking hours out of their Sunday afternoon to listen to us bicker for a few hours, and to the board for having us today. So thank you.
Thank you. And then does the college president want to say something? And then we need to take a photo of the team, okay? Okay.
I'll let us
And
get
you.
right to the photo, but I just wanted to say how proud we are of all of you. You are all stars. We are as proud of you as we would be of any national leading athletic team from this college. You are the equivalent for us, and we just want you to know that you embody Saddleback. You are models for what we hope all of our students are at their heart and in the beauty of their potential. So thank you very much. And finally, I'm just going to be very busy right now because I'm very concerned about all of the students that are going to want to transfer here from Cornell and Berkeley. So we're going to get
And
ready for
Caltech.
that. Congratulations. Let's do a picture.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marcia, and thank you, students and faculty, for coming. You make us proud, you really do. And you can leave whenever you want, you don't. We won't be hurt.
It'll be a long, it's going to be a long meeting.
Wouldn't you know? Okay, we do have some public comments today, and there are 5 of you. Would you just line up over here so that we save time in walking over? We appreciate that. And introduce yourselves. You all have 2 minutes. They're going to say their names. Yeah, please state your names.
My name is Dr. Joseph Latham. I'm Interim Director of Veteran Services at Irvine Valley College.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here tonight. Since I've been in this position, I've noticed a common theme. Many of our veteran population live outside of our immediate community. They travel from Oceanside, Temecula, Long Beach, and Marietta to attend school at IVC. All of them pass by a lot of community colleges just to attend our school. They are receiving the GI Bill, which is a significant source of income. However, most rental agencies do not accept it as a valid source of income. These agencies prefer to rent to people who have a pay stub, and because it's non-taxable, these agencies have the right to deny it. Couch surfing has become the most reliable option for some of our student veterans. However, it's one failed relationship away from them becoming homeless. Therefore, I believe that the cost-effective housing, if it's created locally in the Irvine area, it would benefit our student veterans. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brandon Rodriguez Washington, and I'm a student at IVC and also a veteran. I'd like to talk to you today about the cost-effective housing and how that would benefit students from a student perspective. Did you know over 37,000 veterans experience homelessness and almost 1.4 million are at risk of becoming homeless? Today, I'd like to talk to you about the 15,000 service members that transitioned out of the military from San Diego, which is right up the road. And all those 15,000 have the GI Bill. They've earned the GI Bill. When I joined the military, I knew I would earn the GI Bill. What I didn't know was after the military, it would be so hard to find housing. It'd be so hard. The transition would be so hard. I've lived from couch to couch, lived at the back of my truck at times, because I want to go to college at IVC. It's the #1 transfer college in California, and I wanted to have the opportunity to go to a school like that. And who doesn't want to live in Irvine? So a lot of my fellow veterans, they travel from far. Some live in Temecula, some live in Marietta, some live in Oceanside. And we do what we got to do to go to college here. The Veteran Center has become my second home, and a lot of thanks to Joe over at the Veteran Center, because I honestly didn't know what I was going to do before I came to IVC. So I think effective housing could not just benefit the students, but as Joe mentioned, it's pretty high GI Bill that we get, so we definitely would be able to afford the affordable housing. It's just we have a hard time getting into housing due to it not being taxable income. Thank you so much for your consideration.
Thank you, Brandon.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Heather Johnson. I'm a counselor at Irvine Valley College, and I also have the chance of being the Hearts counselor on our campus. So I help students get housing and food resources at Irvine Valley College and also help them academically. Some of the trends that I've seen, first and foremost, is, for example, the Housing Authority of OC is currently closed for affordable housing, and it's a wait list of 2 years. So if our students are looking for housing, they cannot find it. A lot of our housing, so for Stand Up for Kids, for example, Home Share OC, they are filled to the brim. I had a conversation with someone yesterday, and they were like, oh, well, South Orange County students do not need housing. That's why, our nonprofit doesn't go over there, but they do. In my year as the counselor, myself and our MSW interns have probably seen about 120 students who are in dire need of housing. As we know, if we look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if our students don't have basic needs, they're not going to thrive. I can't ask a student on why they're on academic dismissal when they don't have food, when they don't have housing. Many times I have to tell students that we do not have housing available. This cost-effective housing, first and foremost, will put the care back in IVC cares, and it will put us, we do what we do as a community college, we put the community first. As past people said, a lot of our students are going out of town to find housing, going to North Orange County, things of that nature, and that puts a toll on them, especially if they don't have a vehicle to get to campus, right? They're usually taking the bus, that takes longer. So I'm in full support of cost-effective housing for our students. It'll do a great deal not only for our students, but our community as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sarah Smeltzer, and I'm an IVC student and an EOPS student. I'm here to talk about cost-effective housing as well. A little bit about me. I just finished my second year, but before that, I was housing insecure before I even graduated high school. I had to move out the day after I turned 18. And so I wasn't even expecting to go to college at all. And it was really hard to kind of make that choice between my education or my basic needs. And I was able to find a long-term situation with one of my friends, thankfully, but I know that many students like me did not have that option and do not have those options. I'm advocating for affordable housing near campus, on campus, because I do currently live 2 cities away. So getting to school every day was really difficult for me. I definitely utilize the bus pass. Thank you for that. But I would just really say that it's something important for many students, especially for students in the EOPS program specifically. One of my friends currently commutes from San Clemente and takes the bus to get to school just because they're choosing specifically IVC for their education. So having the housing on or near campus is something that would greatly benefit our students and would alleviate a lot of the stress that comes from either travel or not knowing where you're going to sleep next month or even next week. So thank you.
Thank you.
How's it going, everybody? My name is Brandon Hightower. It's a privilege to be back here. I graduated from IVC in 2017. The year of 2016, 2017, I had the honor of being vice president of our ASIVC, and it's an honor to be back here. I was invited about a month ago to speak at IVC at their transfer celebration, and it had been a few years since I've been back to IVC, and it was so awesome to see all the great work that the campus has grown, and all the new features, and the spirit of the lasers was still alive and well. So it was great to see that, and I just wanted to come here today and offer just support for this housing grant, and even back when I went to IVC, the issue of housing was a really big topic, and I had the opportunity to work with a bunch of great students from all different walks of life, and to piggyback on what everyone's saying is there are a lot of great folks who come from really far to go to IVC to be at the #1 transfer rate university in the state, and I think it speaks to all the great programs that IVC has, and like I said, I think having something like this would be so beneficial to to ease the load of some of the things that our students go through on a day-to-day basis, and just overall, IVC gave a lot to me and my fellow students. So just wanted to offer my support in this time. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you all for your presentation. This is a difficult topic because the need is so great. So I appreciate you taking your time and coming here tonight and share with us. Thank you. And now we'll go on to our trustee reports. And I believe I'll start at this end. Ryan, would you like to start?
Sure. All right, so board report for June 26th. So it has been pretty quiet for most of June, but a few events that I did attend since our last board meeting include the Saddleback commencement ceremony on May 25th. I would like to thank all the faculty and staff that put their time and effort into making sure that graduation was a success. I know this was a little bit different than we've done in years past, and it worked out in a fantastic way. So it was a great experience. I'm glad to have attended. I was also invited to attend the inaugural SOCCD District Services Employee Recognition Ceremony. It was great hearing from our fantastic staff and hearing about our fantastic staff here at the district office, who are usually behind the scenes making sure that the trains run on time. Everyone at the district office does great work, and I hope you guys keep it up. I'd also like to add that the taco cart at that event was very good.
Have you ever had a bad taco cart?
Never.
I haven't. All right. So for the most part, ditto to that, other than I was at IVC's commencement, not Saddleback's. And again, we normally like to go to both, but with the way the situation and logistics were, we weren't able to all do that. Kudos to Trustee Jamal and Milchiker for pulling that trek, and the Chancellor. But yeah, it's always very nice. And the new, Live Oak Terrace, the big screen, it was, a lot of people were loving being able to see from the back portions of that because of that screen. So that was really nice. And that's all I have.
This was the recognition month, and most of the things that I went to had to do with thanking people for what they do and for recognizing their achievements. On May 23rd, the City of Irvine honored the Interactive Media Arts Program developed by Dr. Patricia Beckman. They really resemble the robotics team in many ways. They successfully participated in the IEEE Game SIG Showcase. They were the only community college in the competition among four-year colleges and graduate students, and yet they were finalists. The City of Irvine stated that the program, quote, brought honor to the city, unquote. It was my pleasure to attend the pre-meeting reception to meet and congratulate the students. On May 25th, I was at Irvine Valley College with Trustee Pendergrast and, now I can't remember was it BJ? No, yes. Never mind. Whoever was there, I was there. Okay. We honored 400 graduates, along with over 2,000 family and friends who were there to congratulate and cheer for their family member. It was fun to see the oldest and youngest graduate, and you've seen in the many newspapers, et cetera, the marvelous 11-year-old Tyre Elling, who is the youngest person to ever graduate from community college in our district. But my favorite part was the student speaker who gave the best student commencement speech I have ever heard in my life, and I have heard a lot of them. She was just marvelous. On June 14th, we attended the district service recognition, and it was really nice to see the people get their service pins as well as the award winners. And one of the service pins went to our president, Trustee Tim Jamal, for 10 years of being here and serving. And finally, Celebrate Irvine was at the Hilton Irvine, which, even though I lived there, I got lost somehow. The sense of direction, it just never got there for me. Anyway, it was really very interesting. There's a lot of business going on and the remarkable achievements of the people that won. Thank you.
I also attended on the, when was it, June 14th, the District Service Recognition Award. I truly enjoyed that, I must say. It's people behind the scenes upstairs, and to hear their comments and just mingle with them, it was great. I also attended with IVC and Trustee Innan the Celebrate Irvine. Now, I really enjoyed that because finally I got to put faces together with names that I always hear about with Orange County School Board, because many times you hear about those businesses, et cetera. And I like to hear people who are owners, creators of eateries that are around me. And I'm thinking, whoa, I would have never guessed he looked like that. But at any rate, I really enjoyed that. So thank you, President Hernandez, for letting us come. I also wanted to share something that Dr. Hernandez said in his report, and I really think this is important for all of us, that we successfully have moved from the hang-on during the pandemic to resuming our quest to improve student success and remove equity gaps. I think in one sentence that says it well. And it's been a long 3 years, and we are on our way up. And this last semester, I felt the energy, I felt the productive feeling that people had to, let's move on, and I really appreciate that. So let's move on to our president.
Thank you. My apologies for being a little tardy. I did get a chance to talk to the Saddleback College Rover team on my way in. So my kudos to them. Sorry I missed the presentation or recognition, but that's very impressive what they did, finishing, I think, in 20th or out of 100+ colleges and universities, and mostly four-year universities, so very impressive. Great job. Not much more on the commencements. Having to attend two of them was interesting. So we got some of IVC and then dashed over here and did Houdini and got to the Saddleback one. And so I assume we're going to try to work something out where we can maybe not have that happen again. But it was kind of fun, being able to attend both. And then the recognition ceremony for the district employees was great. I do appreciate the recognition. It's, as I said there, it's always a two-edged sword when you're in elected office. When you get recognized for longer tenure, it doesn't always work to a populist advantage. But I appreciate the recognition from the district and all the work the employees do here. So thank you. And I'll turn over to Trustee Jay.
Okay. I was going to talk about the district service employee recognition, but I wanted to congratulate Employee of the Year, classified Billy Lee, and the district services manager, Danielle Heinbusch, for their awards and their dedicated service to the district. 10 people got 5-year recognition pins. Congratulations. 10-year service pin recipient went to Tim Janelle and Dr. Chris McDonald and Mary Opal. A 25-year pin was received by Steve Gross. Steve, thank you for your lengthy service and dedication to South Orange County Community College District. At the June 16th board meeting of the chief executive officers of the California Community College Board elected a new president, our very own our Chancellor, Dr. Juliana Barnes. She will head the CEOCC Board, which takes positions on education policy issues that come before the California Community College Board of Governors and the California State Legislature. This is a huge job. Congratulations. This is the end. We are here to help and support you in this wonderful new honorable position. And I hope you give a report and tell us a little bit about your new job. Anyway, I wanted to congratulate the College Rover team also. Marcia, you did a terrific job. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Done.
And I already gave my board report when I introduced the Rover team, and I'm going to email it to you so that you can read it too, okay?
You're looking at me?
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to read it. You can
You're not
send
gonna
it.
read it? Okay.
Sorry.
I'll email it to you anyway, okay?
Okay. All right. I guess this is the handoff. Thank you, Trustee Rydell, for stepping in so ably. And I know you did a great job. So, Student Trustee Hitty.
Thank you. I was also able to attend and participate in the platform party at Saddleback graduation last month. And I know it's been said before, but I would like to thank all the trustees who were able to attend both IBC and Saddleback. On behalf of the students, we're very grateful and appreciative of your efforts to attend both, or either one. Since the last meeting, I've had the opportunity to meet with the director of EOPS and CARE at IBC, Dr. Rosa Prado. She was able to share some of the amazing positive impacts that these programs have had at IBC. Her recent impact study this past year actually showed that students participating in the EOPS program were actually more likely to complete transfer level math and English and show higher transfer rates within 2 years. I think this truly reflects the effectiveness of this program and its use of its resources. I've also spoken to many of my peers who had the opportunity to access the resources provided by EOPS, and they all experienced similar benefits. So I look forward to continue supporting them through my term. Thank you.
Thank you for that. You're going at the end? Okay. All right. We're now on to Associated Student Government Reports. And I guess Gloria is not here. Diego from IVC.
Thank you. Hello, thank you. I'd like to formally introduce myself. I know in past meetings I've had a warm welcome from other members from IVC. My name is Diego Victoria. I'm an incoming second-year student here at Irvine Valley College. I'm majoring in political science and history. A little bit about myself. I'm a first-generation college student and the son of 2 Mexican immigrants. This does come with some challenges, but these are things that I take pride in and have pushed forward every single day. Some things that I do outside of student government, I mainly focus a lot on speech and debate. I'm a two-time national champion in 1v1 debate for 2 different associations, which I won this past academic year. I'm looking forward to winning more this second year and representing the South Orange County District. Apart from that, I'm currently interning with the Republican Party of Orange County, State Assemblyman Philip Chen, and I've also recently started as a new position with the IVC EOPS Peer Navigator. And the main vision for myself as president for this academic year is to really support the students that need the help the most. The students that are facing a lot of serious things such as housing insecurities, food insecurities. Student governance should be about helping their students. It shouldn't be about creating the best events or the best socials on campus, because at the end of the day, if you know that you don't have food for tomorrow, or if you can't pay your rent, there's no way that you could have fun at such social or at such event. So with that being said, especially in today being a very important issue of student housing, student government here at ASIVC fully supports the student housing in Irvine Valley College, because we see the necessity. And not only hearing the stories, but also as a student, knowing that some of my fellow classmates are in dire need of housing. And this is why it's such an important reason for this district to support the student housing. And I'm looking forward to working with everybody here and having a great academic year. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you to my former high school teacher, Mr. Prendergast.
I just want to say, he's probably like 6 out of the like 9 one that we've had.
Wow.
Great.
All right, well, thank you for that. You want to keep? Okay, let's move on to, I think we have a new face here today from the IVC Academic Senate, Rebecca Beck.
I am not Rebecca Beck.
Well, all right, we have a new face, but you're not Rebecca Beck.
I am Summer Serpis. I'm Academic Affairs Chair at IVC, and Rebecca could not be here tonight, so she asked me to come in and give a report on the projects we are working on this summer. So we are working on creating our Center for Teaching Excellence, and we've been visiting other centers to view best practices and see what will work best for IVC. We visited Cerritos, Golden West, and Leeward College in Honolulu, Hawaii, which was unfortunately a virtual visit. We have seen great examples of various approaches, and we've been particularly impressed with the colleges that are tapping into the expertise of those on campus and building professional development around that. And we're continuing to prepare for our fall visit from the IEPI Partnership Resource Team. We're also planning a new faculty orientation for next year, and Rebecca, Vice President Miranda, and I have been working on the schedule for that. We're creating a series of workshops over the course of the year, and new faculty will meet twice per month and participate in workshops based on various themes, such as governance at the community college, supporting students inside the classroom and outside of the classroom, and our student population. We're also updating the Academic Senate pages on the IVC website to make them more accessible and usable for faculty. And we are continuing to finalize plans for our Flex Week schedule. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Welcome. But now I know there is a familiar face
Yes.
from Saddleback College, Margot Lovett.
Good evening, everyone. It is great to be back. Hello, trustees and Chancellor Barnes. I feel like I should just say, yeah, what Summer said is what we're doing too. There has been a lot of collaboration between the two academic senates, and a lot of our goals will sound the same. Saddleback also has a new body called the Center for Teaching Innovations, which will focus on faculty professional development, innovative pedagogies, so I think there's going to be a lot of overlap. As well, we also are planning a new faculty orientation. We are thrilled that we have 28 new incoming faculty tenure track, which is just phenomenal. And I think that they are going to enhance our college in ways that we don't yet know. So that is fantastic. We also are, the Senate exec is planning our goals and priorities for next year. So we've started working on those. And I will have more to report later on. So thank you all.
Thank you, Margot. Next up is the Faculty Association, Melanie Hyeri.
Good evening, everyone. I don't have a report tonight. Things are slower. But I do want to acknowledge, I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the really hard work of faculty who I am so humbled and honored to represent. It's obvious we all work more than our hours and do it with such gusto and with pride. So I'm very proud of the faculty I represent.
Thank you. We are proud of them also. We have IVC Classified Senate, Desiree Ortiz.
Thank you so much, Chancellor Barnes, trustees, and fellow colleagues. This is my last meeting. So I wanted to take the opportunity to thank you all for the support and embracing me during my presidency. I've learned so much from you, and I will take this time that I've shared leading with all of you to enhance my leadership skills. I truly cherish everything that I learned from you all. To my academic faculty leaders and my new work family, thank you for embracing me and lifting me up during this time. I was so honored to lead alongside of you. To my partner in crime next to me, Michelle, it was an honor to lead with you. And I hope to develop more Senate skills with you and to really just collaborate with our classified. To Dr. Viscachil and all of her team, thank you for embracing the collaboration of both of our teams and really allowing us to do the great work that we've done. To Scott, thank you for allowing us to do the work that we do. To everybody in this room who are leaders, thank you for allowing me to learn from all of you. To my director, who allowed me the time to really jump in and be a leader. And lastly, to President Hernandez for allowing me to grow into a leader. You were always there for me to help support me and let me develop into the leader you knew I could be. You never told me how to lead. You showed me what a great leader does. And I found this quote that I feel true for all of us. People don't care how much you know until they show you how much you care. Thank you all for caring for me, for my success, and for students. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Desiree. We're going to miss you at these meetings. Don't be a stranger.
I will not.
Okay.
You will see me around.
All right. Now we have Saddleback College Classified Senate, Michelle Jackson.
Good evening, Chancellor Barnes, trustees. This month has been slow-ish for Classified Senate. We are looking towards our retreat this summer. It's at the end of next month where we will be continuing to set new goals for ourselves as a body, and we'll be looking forward to establishing some new joint PD ventures with Irvine Valley College. I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge Desiree. Thank you for welcoming me in and allowing our senates to work so closely together. It really has been such a great relationship. And good best of luck on whatever is next for you. I just wanted to remind everyone that June 29th is the Caring Campus kickoff event at Saddleback College from 3:30 to 6 p.m. in the McKinney Theater. We'll do the presentation at 4 and 5 p.m. for folks who, can't all close down the office and come. But everyone here is invited to attend. The more, the merrier. We've been preparing by recording training videos and planning that event. We're so excited to kick off our 90-day plan, looking towards Welcome Week activities and future Caring Campus ventures. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Michelle. CSEA President Scott Green.
Thank you, Mr. President, Board of Trustees, Chancellor Barnes. We are going to miss Desiree Ortiz at these meetings, but I feel very privileged that she has joined our negotiations team, and so that I'll be working closely with her during the negotiations that we will have with the district. So it's a real privilege and honor to have her talent to join our team. Next month, we are going to have the CSEA conference, and to me, that is one of the greatest examples of democracy. Despite political affiliations, that does not matter when it comes down to CSEA and the entity it is as a union. because we have one goal, and the goal is education. We do have during this conference what's called Education Days. That's when there are forums and where people go into breakout groups in large quantities to discuss issues of education. One of the things that is going to be discussed, and one of the things that is of great concern this year, is the issue of artificial intelligence. We know that the faculty is very concerned about that. It's one of the reasons why the Screen Actors Guild, AFTRA, is on strike, because artificial intelligence is a major issue, which is why they're still walking the picket line. We know that, for example, it is something we should be concerned about. And I will give you an example personally. I went into a Wiener Schnitzel in a drive-through, which I wonder about my own decision about that. However, the person taking my order was not a person at all. It was an artificial intelligence. And surprise, surprise, Ms. Artificial Intelligence got my order wrong.
Oh, no.
So that's the type of thing in technology as it advances. When artificial intelligence keeps advancing, we have to collectively take artificial intelligence seriously. We need to control it, because if we don't control it, it's going to control us.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was
I don't go to Wiener Schnitzel, but now I'm very, I'm curious, so I think I'm gonna stop by. All right. I don't see anyone here from the POA. Okay. And now we're into any board requests for reports? I don't see any. Okay, we're now on to public hearings, 5.1. I will introduce the item. We're now at board agenda item 5.1 regarding a public hearing on the initial proposal on the mutually agreed reopener for Article 30, wages by the district and the South Orange County Community College District Faculty Association. Before we hold the public hearing, Vice Chancellor Viskachil will provide an introduction.
Thank you, President Jamal. The board will conduct a public hearing to provide an opportunity for the public to comment on the mutually agreed reopener between the district and the Faculty Association. If the board has any questions throughout the public hearing process, I am here to assist.
Does the board have any questions for staff to assist with their understanding of this matter? Don't see any questions. Board item 5.1, the public hearing on the matter at hand is now open. Public comments are not to exceed 2 minutes. See any public comments? The public hearing is now closed. Is there any further discussion on this matter by the Board of Trustees? The item 5.1 is concluded. We'll now move to item 5.2. We'll now move to item 5.2, adoption of initial proposal of the mutually agreed reopener for Article 30, wages by the district and the South Orange County Community Colleges District Faculty Association. Oh, we need to move the item. Motion from trustee Prendergast.
Second.
Second from trustee Rydell. Any questions? Okay, let's go ahead and vote. 5.2 is approved by unanimous trustee yes vote and I don't see the student advisory vote. Okay,
Would this be human resources related?
is that why? Okay. All right, 7-0 trustee yes vote. Thank you. All right, now we're on to 5.3, which is regarding a public hearing on the mutually agreed upon reopener for Article 8, pay and allowances by the district and the South Orange County Community College District California School Employees Association, CSEA, Chapter 586. Before we hold the public hearing, Vice Chancellor Viskachil will provide an introduction.
Thank you. The board will now conduct a public hearing to provide an opportunity for the public to comment on the mutually agreed reopener by the district and the California School Employees Association, CSEA. If the board has any questions throughout the public hearing process, I'm here to assist.
Thank you. Does the board have any questions for staff to assist with their understanding of this matter? Not seeing any. Board item 5.3, the public hearing on the matter at hand is now open. Public comments are not to exceed 2 minutes. Seeing no public comments, the public hearing is now closed. Is there any further discussion on this matter by the Board of Trustees? Item 5.3 is concluded. We'll now move to item 5.4, adoption of initial proposal on the mutually agreed reopener for Article 8, pay and allowances by the district and the California School Employees Association. Motion from trustee Prendergast,
Second.
second from trustee Jay. Let's go ahead, any questions? Let's go ahead and vote on the item. The motion carries on a 7-0 unanimous trustee yes vote. We're now at board agenda item 5.5 regarding a public hearing on the mutually agreed reopener for Article 6, pay and allowances by the district and South Orange County Community College District Police Officers Association, otherwise known as POA. Before we hold the hearing, Vice Chancellor Viscachill will provide an introduction.
Thank you. The board will now conduct a public hearing to provide an opportunity for the public to comment on the mutually agreed reopener by the district and the Police Officers Association. If the board has any questions throughout the public hearing process, I'm happy to assist.
Does the board have any questions for staff to assist them in understanding this item? Board item 5.5, the public hearing on the matter at hand is now open. Public comments are not to exceed 2 minutes. I don't see any requests for public comments. Public hearing is now closed. Is there any further discussion on this matter by the Board of Trustees? Seeing none, item 5.5 is concluded. We will now move to item 5.6, adoption of initial proposal on the mutually agreed reopener for Article 6, pay and allowances by the district and the Police Officers Association. Is there a motion? Motion from trustee Prendergast,
Second.
second from trustee Jay. Any other questions? Okay, let's go ahead and vote. The motion carries on a 7-0 unanimous trustee yes vote. We're now on to resolutions. We don't have any. So there's no item 6.1. Board item 7.0, Board of Trustees Chancellor. 7.1, trustee requests for attending conferences. Oh, so we need a motion.
There's nobody on that.
Motion from trustee Prendergast,
Second.
second from trustee Jay. Any questions on the item? Okay, let's go ahead and vote. The motion carries on a 7-0 trustee yes vote and a student trustee abstention. Now on to 7.2, board policy revision for approval. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion from trustee Jay. Second from trustee Inman. Any questions? No? All right. Let's go ahead and vote. The motion carries on a 7-0 trustee yes vote and a student trustee yes vote. We are now on to presentations and discussion items. 8.1, submission of higher education student housing program grant for Irvine Valley College, and I see some people coalescing around the presentation podium.
So I'll go ahead and kick it off while they are doing that. So tonight we have 3 individuals here to help me with the presentation. First up, we have Casey Aurelian from Gensler, and then we'll have Jay Perlman from Scion Group, and then Medhani Ephraim, our Executive Director of Facilities Planning, will be helping out. So next. Honey, can you move the slide for me? Sorry. Thank you. So just a little bit of background for the board. This is related to the IVC student housing project, but where have we been? As you know, back in June of 2020, we awarded the feasibility contract to the Scion Group to look at the feasibility of student housing for both Saddleback College and Irvine Valley College. We put that on hiatus for a year due to the pandemic. And so then we started back up. In June of 22, SB AB 169 passed that created the Higher Education Student Housing Program, which allowed community college districts to apply for student housing construction grants as well as planning grants. And at that point in time, it committed $2 billion in funding over a 3-year period. In July, we were awarded $323,000 for Irvine Valley College and $483,000 for Saddleback College to do the planning grants for possible construction of student housing projects at each college. We, based upon the survey results that we had done with Scion, we made the determination that student housing demand existed at both of the colleges. And so then we were still looking at what types of methods could we deliver a student housing project. It was in August of '22 that we determined that a P3 or a public-private partnership was not available, and because it was not going to be financially viable due to both the rising construction costs as well as the rising interest rate costs and the other financing costs. If we did go with the P3 model, then the rents that would be charged would have been higher than market value. So we made the determination that we would not do a student housing project as a P3 since it wouldn't be affordable for our students. So therefore, in September of '22, we began working on the construction grant application. We needed to make a determination on which college would go first because the Chancellor's office indicated that we could only submit one application per district per cycle. Since Saddleback College had already put the student housing in their facilities master plan that they had done in 2020, we had already done the CEQA requirements, which is one of the items that needed to be done in order to submit your application. So we made the decision in January of '23 that we would submit Saddleback College grant application, which we did, and that had 400 beds. Next slide, please. And as we were working with Saddlebacks and doing theirs, we said that we would follow that up in the next application cycle for Irvine Valley. So in March of '23, we finalized the CEQA addendum for IVC that the board approved. And then we also were notified in March of '23 that Saddleback was ranked 19th out of 21 for the first round of applications. They received 41 points. And looking at all the information, I discovered that they didn't give us 1 point that we were meant to receive. And so I was able to convince the Chancellor's office to give us that 1 point, which brought us up to being ranked 18th. But as we all now know, that's a little moot because they are not going down and funding all the way down to the 18th rank. In May of '23, the governor proposed $450 million for student housing for the '23-24 cycle, which would fund the first 6 projects that were on the list. I will say now in June of '23, the Assembly initially proposed $367 million for student housing for Riverside Community College, or Riverside City College, Merced, Cabrillo, Cerritos, and San Mateo. That has again morphed with the AB 117, that trailer bill language just came out this morning. And so in looking at that, the legislature, in discussions with the Department of Finance and the governor, has agreed to the first 7 projects that were on the list, totaling $464,051,000. But rather than that being funded with general fund monies from the state outright, they have shifted the entire program, so it's really not construction grants anymore. Now they will be locally issued lease revenue bonds. So what that means is that each community college district will have to issue their own revenue bonds in order to pay for the construction, and then the state is indicating that they will make the debt payments. So they've allocated $78.5 million in the 23-24 budget, actually in the 22-23 budget, to pay for the debt service of these lease revenue bonds for the housing. And they even did that for the projects that received the cash in 22-23. That cash will now be clawed back from those districts, and they're going to have to issue lease revenue bonds in order for the state housing. So it's a huge change in the program, but we're still going to move forward, and that's what we're proposing tonight is the grant application. The grant application that we're doing for IVC is for 320 beds. It would have been for the 24 fiscal year, so we still don't know what's going to happen in the 24-25 legislation period. So I think it still is prudent for us to move forward with this application just to see what's going to happen next year during the budget cycle. Then next slide, please. Just kind of as a reminder, some of the guidelines and requirements if we were to get funded for one of the student housing programs is that we have to offer it to our low-income students, meaning that they are either eligible to receive a Pell Grant, a Cal Grant, or a California Promise fee waiver, or they are a DREAM Act recipient. The students are required to take a minimum average of 12 units per semester. They have to, we have to allow them to live in the facilities year-round, so not just during the school term. It has to be for a 12-month period. And then the annual rent is really constricted. As of 2022, the maximum amount that we could charge would be $1,042. Those rent escalations, again, are limited on an annual basis, and then the district has to commit to cover any excess costs that would come in when the project went out to bid over and above what the grant amount was. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Casey, and he will kind of go through the programming of what the IVC student housing project would look like.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I just wanted to say that I'm honored to be here to share this very important project. It was wonderful to hear all the testimonials shared earlier, and it really helped to demonstrate that there is such a need for the housing on the college campus. As Dr. Gable mentioned, we have 320 beds within the complex that are being proposed. It's a mixture of singles, doubles, and studios. You can see the singles shown in the green all the way to the left. These are dorm-style units, and they're meant to have a bed, a dresser, and a desk in each one of these units. And then there are common spaces outside of these units, and we'll share that in the overall plans. The double is slightly larger. It accommodates 2 students with a similar program in that room. And then the studio is a little bit larger. There is a restroom within that room and a small kitchenette. This combination of singles, doubles, and studios are really kind of a balance of the student preferences that were discovered in the survey that went out, as well as really trying to balance having a competitive grant application and building a very efficient building that supports students, but is competitive for the application. Looking at this is your facilities plan that was developed several years ago. Wanted to bring this up first just to give a little context of the site selection. A very important framework to the facilities plan was this north-south campus promenade that's being introduced all the way from the north drop-off, and it opens up through the quad and really connects down to what would be the future student housing, which is the blue parcel that's shown just to the south of the Fine Arts Complex. It's a really incredible site because it's very connected to the campus, but it also gives students a sense of going somewhere else and getting off campus to go home in a sense. There's also a really great proximity to a recently completed parking lot there, plenty of parking, direct access, and then also to some of the athletic facilities as well, just to the right of the student housing area. Zooming in a little bit closer, when we considered the site layout for this project, there were several different considerations. One is creating a new drop-off area similar to what's happening on the north side of the campus near the main campus entrance, to create another drop-off on the south side of the campus as well to mirror that. It creates a new gateway into the south side of the campus. And then if you look at the building, the way that the building is oriented in this diagram, you could see that it's really opening itself up to connect both to the parking area where students would be coming, but then also from the main campus core coming down from that promenade. And so the building has entrances from both sides. But you can see that the building has been justified to the south of the site, giving a bit of a green buffer between what would be the fine arts complex and this new residential area. That open space provides enough area as well to have great student activities. And then within the student housing complex itself, we have 3 different courtyards that have been set up. One is a great entrance plaza. The second is a central courtyard, and then there is a third courtyard just to the east of where the parking area is. This creates really great opportunities for different types of outdoor spaces to support different types of student needs. You can see that here, those 3 courtyards. It also supports different types of students with personalities that some want to be more active and engage with with some of the gatherings that are happening, but then also offer some smaller, more intimate kind of quiet spaces for studying and engagement with other students as well. Just looking at the way that the building is organized, just starting from the top right of the plan, you can see that green arrow showing the entrance into the main lobby. So this main lobby would be a place to welcome first-time students visiting the building to get information, but it's also a place for students to study, to get to know one another, to be directed. Just behind that lobby space, there is an office for the management of the building, and then right behind that is a mental health counselor. There's instructional support center within the building. There's a laundry area, and then also there's a food pantry that's part of this building as well. So not only are there living units here, but there are also quite a few student support services. So it really is a living, learning community. Looking at the building organization, you can see that there's 3 legs of the building other than the main lobby area that we've been talking about them as these small communities, these small neighborhoods that offer different types of spaces. You have the blue rectangles are the doubles that I mentioned prior, and then also the singles are the small green spaces. Each one of those small those small communities have a shared study lounge for students to hang out. Then there's also showers and restrooms, and then there's also some other support, general support spaces for the building for services. So there's 3 legs of the building on this plan that show those different communities, and then central to that on the left side of the plan in the pink is a shared kitchen for students to use. Going up to the second floor, this is a plan of level 2 and level 3. It's a very similar layout to the ground level, but you can see here there's 4 of those communities. And then the additional piece that's added are this right at the center of the building are the studios. So these are the connectors. They're sort of building bridges that connect over, to each side of the building. So there's certainly a lot of diversity within each of the small communities where students can feel a sense of belonging, a place to meet, kind of open up your door and to meet other students similar. Moving over to just kind of a bird's eye view, you can start to see what the building would look like in 3D, a massing of the building, how the building just really opens up and looks very welcoming from that main campus promenade off to the right of the site. And then you can see over to the left is the parking area. So that would be the massing of the building. And then just another view from the ground level, you can start to see the lobby space on the right. We have a small shade structure on the outside, just providing different types of places for students to enjoy and have different activities. And then you can see those studios kind of create those building bridges that connect the two sides of the building. So it's open on the ground level all the way through to connect from the campus promenade to the parking area. And just one more view of that, of what that central courtyard would look like. And that central courtyard is secured. There's fences that, it's blocked by the building on the north and south side, and on the east and west, there are fences with key card access to create a secure facility for students. And I'll turn it over to Jay to talk about some of the financials.
Thank you. I'm going to start by going off script for a second, if I can, and just say that I genuinely enjoy my job. And one of the things that I like is I get an opportunity to work across so many different types of institutions. I've seen large and small over my career, probably hundreds of them. And the one thing that I've observed, and the one thing that always impresses me when I work at community colleges, is the focus on the student. And that is evident here tonight as well. In board meetings, really focus on the success, the struggles, and the basic needs of students, more so than at any other type of school that I have experienced. And so it's one of the reasons why I genuinely enjoy being here tonight. So my slides, unfortunately, are not as attractive as the architect's renderings. That happens all the time, but I am going to talk about numbers because they are important. Quick review. 320 beds, about 82,000 square feet over 3 floors. Again, the majority of the rooms are traditional doubles, but there are also some traditional singles and then some studio apartments in there as well. Really, really important that the traditional double rooms have rents that start at $594 a month, which definitely qualifies for the affordable student housing program. The studios are $927 per month, which is also under the required threshold. The vast majority of the space is, in fact, the rentable residential square foot. When we're looking at total project costs of the building, it's $75 million roughly. What's really important is that comes out to $234,000 per bed. Which is under some of the averages that we saw in the first round of applications for SB 169 funding. The college will request roughly 95% of that and will contribute 5% on their own. Oops. Also important is once it is constructed, what we call the total cost of ownership. The 50-year total cost is actually net positive, $26.5 million. That is made up, when we look at the column all the way on the left, it's roughly a net of $463,000 per year. That comes down to approximately $3.1 million of net revenue. And that is after we have a fairly conservative allocation for vacancies. So essentially, that's equal to about a 92.5% occupancy rate. About $1 million worth of operating expenses, and then about $1.5 million worth of additional payroll, which I will drill into on the following page because it is important. One of the things that we always say that when a college adds its first-time student housing, it can be transformational for the campus, and so there are additional support and staffing that are required for that, everything from police officers to Title IX officers, residential life staff, and then physical plant staff, plumbers, electricians, cleaners, et cetera. We estimated a total of about 9.15 FTEs required to actually help to run the space.
Next. Yep. Good. Great. So the last couple of slides. So this next slide speaks to the rubric and estimated scoring, similar to what we did this past January when we submitted to Saddleback. There's a similar process here. So the table that you see to the left there has a prescribed scoring metric that was set by legislation, has 5 categories. And the one to the right has administrative scoring metrics set by the Chancellor's Office, also has 5 categories, all totaling up to 100 points. We are guesstimating right now that this project may score anywhere between 40 to 45 points. Again, there are a lot of unknown factors here, similar to the previous one we submitted, right? We don't know how many districts have submitted. We don't know what their cost factors are. We don't know what their cost per square footage costs are. So there are some points we just don't know. Hence, for example, the first one, the SB 169 funds per student housed, we put 5 or 10, because again, we don't know who's going to be submitting and what the costs are. And similar to the TBDs that we just don't know yet. So I think it's important to note that these are guesstimates, the maximum scoring being 100. Most highly likely, schools won't be scoring 100, but 40 to 45 is what we're guesstimating. And then the proposed timeline, the actual application itself is due July 3rd. Assuming we get funded, we hope to get conditional approval sometime July of 2024. And once we do, we would be going right into procuring an architect, and that would take about 3 months or so to go to bid for that. And once we do, we're guesstimating about a 9-month design period. And once design is completed, we would submit the project plans to the Division of State of Architect, which we are guesstimating about another 9 months again. We're treating this just like any other capital outlay projects we have on campus. Once we have DSA-approved plans, the goal is to send it to the Chancellor's Office for approval to go to bid. Once we get that, and we're guesstimating about a month or 2 for that. And once we do get approval, the bid process to procure a GC, a general contractor, is about 3 months. And then construction, we're guesstimating about 22 months or so, ending June of 2028 with closeout in June and July, if you will, with a move-in in August. So this has a better move-in date, I think, for our students to come in the fall. And just a couple of other things to add to Casey's portion of the presentation. A few questions that came up last time with Saddleback submission. Again, the beauty of this project, there's right adjacent to the parcel, to the lot, there's lot 6 that has 594 stalls. So we're planning on using a portion of that, dedicating it for this project. And also having security with respects to card access. That came up as a question last time as well. So we would do something similar here as well.
Does that conclude your presentation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Do you have any questions from trustees? Trustee Prendergast, and then Trustee Inman. Who else? Okay, and then Trustee Rydell. You are.
All right, well, so my first question will go to Anne Marie. This bond wrench in the cogs of the wheel. Is that something that we have the ability to circumvent because we're basic aid, or is it going to be an absolute 100% requirement?
Well, it's going to be a requirement for state funding. So, we are applying for state funding. Originally, when we started down this path, it was 100%, grant, whereby you received the cash and then you did the project. But due to the downturn in the state's economy and state's budget, they have converted it to now lease revenue bonds. So every project that the state will approve will be required to do a lease revenue bond with the intent that the state would pay the debt service, although all that has to be worked out. I mean, like I said, this was published over the weekend. I was reading it first thing this morning, so there's still a lot of uncertainty around how it's going to work. But I do know, in looking at the budget trailer bill, all the projects that were funded as of July 1st, 2022, those line items have been stricken out of the state budget. So they no longer exist. And then the 7 projects that submitted their proposals in January, like we did with Saddleback, those 7 projects are listed as being authorized to move forward, but as a lease revenue bond, where those districts are going to have to do and issue their own bonds in order to get the funding for it, and then the state would repay the debt service. So that's what we're applying for. So that's our one option. The other option, I guess, is if the board wanted to continue with student housing on both or either one of our campuses, or even at ATEP, we could locally fund it with our basic aid proceeds, but that would mean that we would have to completely reprioritize everything that we have in our facilities master plan, and it would delay, the projects that we have in line for that. So I guess those are kind of our 2 options right now.
I guess more specifically, my question though is, what does that mean in numbers? So if, for example, I believe we were applying for a grant for $75 million. So that means we would have to go out for a bond for $75 million?
Correct.
And if the voters approved it,
So
the
it's
state
not
pays it back?
It's
or
not
we
a
pay it?
voter-approved bond, so it's not a general obligation bond. It's a locally issued revenue bond. So we would be going out to the market and issuing debt, saying that we have revenue to repay that debt. So it does not have to be voter approved. So think of it as like, if you know what a certificates of participation is.
Sure.
It would be similar to that,
Okay.
just on a long-term basis rather than a
So
short-term.
we would be selling bonds to local residents with the idea that they would be, or it doesn't even necessarily have to be local.
Right.
We'd be selling bonds that they're guaranteed repayment on by the state.
Correct.
Okay, that helps. And then I had a question, and I'm not sure who this would be for, but it came up with the speakers earlier, the concept of the GI Bill not counting as income for those veteran students. I'm just curious because one of the speakers said it was whoever's renting the apartment or renting the room has the ability to make that determination that they're not going to count a GI Bill. Is that truly a choice by the renters, or is that an actual rule that you're not allowed as a renter to count it as a GI or count it as income?
I don't know if.
Because they
Jay,
may,
if you would
they
have
may
that
in their
answer.
minds think it was a choice by the rent, but it may be something the renters have no choice. I don't know, and it would be really important to know that if we as renters can't count GI Bill as income in determining if they're allowed to be in there, then we're not solving anything.
Well, for us, if it was our project and we were funded under this program, they would have to be deemed to be low-income students, meaning that they have to be eligible for Pell, a fee
And that's a
waiver.
good thing if the GI, okay.
Correct.
That's very helpful, thank you. And then my last thing, if you guys can go back to the rubric. I had a question on the start date. If getting a high score is being able to start construction by December 31st, 2024, who's gonna be able to do that? Like, that
It-
seems insane.
It would be those districts that were already, had fronted the money for the planning and already have the designs in place, and, they were kind of, most of them that have it, they have a local bond, general obligation bond that they've passed that allows them to spend the money on student housing. So they already started the project, and then all of a sudden, the state program came about, and it's like, oh, I can get free money and save my local bond dollars. So that's kind of what's happening with that.
Okay. And then regions of highest need, you have no. How is that possible? From what we just
So-
heard of our students and the cost of living in Orange County, I find it hard to believe that we don't have a higher need than some others.
Right, so regions of highest need is something that was developed by the chancellor's office with part of their vision for success. So there are 5 areas within the state that the state chancellor's office considers a region of high need. 24 districts fall into that, but the 5 areas are really the Central Valley, the Sierras, the Inland Empire, and then the far north are the areas that they consider regions of high need. Unfortunately, Los Angeles and Orange County do not fall into that area.
Sounds like they're determining that based on remoteness of the locations and how far people have to commute to go.
No, it was really based upon student success and they were really the low-performing areas on the metrics when it came to were their students completing, were they successfully passing math and English. The regions of high need, like I said, it came in with the vision for success that the chancellor's office developed with their goals, what was that, I guess 5 years ago now. And it's a metric that they've been using to allocate funds to give those areas a step up in scoring, since their students aren't succeeding as well as the other areas.
And housing's gonna fix that. Okay. And then my last question, the local contribution, the 5% only gets us an estimated 2 points. So obviously, if we were able to contribute more, we could get a higher score.
Right. Yes. 25% local contribution would have gotten 10 points, and then it kind of goes down from there. Between 9% and 5% is where you get the 2 points. If we went up to 10%, it would have been 3 points.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Inman.
I wasn't going to ask this, but this highest need thing is really academic, not poverty.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. My question, is it possible, would the rules say that only one person could live in even the studio? I'm thinking primarily, when I am thinking about this, of a person with a child. Could they rent a studio? Or is that something that would be determined later?
So
I'm thinking
the way the metrics worked, it was how many beds you have in there. And so that's how you calculate the price per bed. So with the studio, we have 1 bed.
Right.
You know, when we did our student surveys and tried to determine how we were going to program the housing, far and above the students wanted the studios. However, they cost more to do a studio. So that's why we have a very limited number of studios, and we went more towards the traditional dormitory style with either a single or a double. I think we tried to focus a lot with the single to offset the desire to have a studio apartment, to try to keep our cost per bed down.
Right.
So, you know, right now, we don't have any provision in there for family housing. For the students, it really would just be single students.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Rydell.
This was my question when you just answered Trustee Pendergast. What would it cost us to get those 20 points?
To get the 10 points for local contribution,
I thought we could get up to 20.
we can get up a maximum of 10 points.
Okay, 10.
So if we wanted to do a 25% contribution, 25% of 75 million would be about $16 million, roughly. Somebody, did I do my math right?
Don't look at me.
Chris?
18.7. 18.7.
18.7. I was a little low.
I use a calculator.
I'm using one. Thank you. Oh, my other question was the parking. So if we had 340 students and 340, I would say have cars, or let's say they don't and it's 300, would that 300 taking away, because they'll be parked almost 24 hours a day, will that be significant on the parking situation at IVC?
So I would say, I think it's 320 beds, and as Medhani mentioned, the parking lot that's directly adjacent to it, Lot 6, there's 594 stalls, so it would take up approximately half of those stalls. You know, on a good day, I think I've seen 30 cars in that lot.
Oh.
I know, Dr. Hernandez, have you seen more there?
No, I have not. And that also, I think, assumes that every student who would be eligible to live in the facility would own a vehicle. And based on what we've been hearing from our students who are struggling with basic needs, a lot of them are relying on public transportation and other measures. But even if it was the full 320, I think it would have minimal impact on staff and faculty parking in that corner of the campus.
Okay, I didn't know. Thank you.
I'm trying to understand this. TJ asked a good question on lease revenue bond. We hear, you know, this district's never had I think in the history, ever had a bond. But I think the reason it doesn't need to go to the voters is because it doesn't raise taxes.
Correct.
That's why you have to go to voters when you have bonds or parcel taxes. Anytime you raise taxes on the voters or on the residents, you have to go to a vote. I think K through 12 and us are 55%. And then other local governments are 2/3, except when a citizens grassroots initiative places a measure on a ballot. And that's a loophole that was created a few years ago, and it's a California Supreme Court decision. That's only 50+1. But the reason is, right, because it would not raise taxes.
Correct. We wouldn't be raising taxes on our local residents. We would be incurring the debt ourselves as a district, and we would be securing the debt and promising to repay the debt as the individual district, assuming that we would get the funding from the state. So that, you know, even though the state is putting up the 78.5 million ongoing to pay that debt service and is saying that they would reimburse us, there's nothing in those documents that is putting the state on the line to pay the debt service. It would be a locally issued debt by the district.
Just think we need to look at this a little bit more. Well, you want to interject? Go ahead.
Well, no, I just want to kind of get a clarification then. So if we put in for a bid and let's say we stay with the 5%. And so then the state approves our proposal with the idea that we'd be going out to get $75 million in bonds, sell 75, and we come up short. Are we then on the hook for the difference, or does the state say, sorry, you didn't sell enough bonds?
We're on the hook for the difference.
Okay.
I think the state would only, so again, this is all very new and we got to work out the logistics of how it would really work. But I think the state would only commit to repay the debt on the 75 million. If the bid came in at 100 million, we've only issued debt for 75. We now got to pick up that additional 25 million to pay for the project, and that the state would only reimburse us the debt on the 75 million.
So then that would go the other way, that if we put in a proposal where we're covering 25%, and now we only have to sell 50-something million dollars worth of bonds, but we sell 75 million, they would not cover the debt service on the extra, we would have to pay that.
Correct.
Got it. All right, thank you.
At least that's how I think it'll work.
Yeah.
A lot of caveats
Yeah, I
on how
think
this whole
there's-
program's gonna work since it
Yeah.
was just published.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll have more clarity in a little bit. I'm glad you answered the questions on the FTs. I was wondering about that. So are we going to have a property management firm there as well?
No, similar to, I'm sorry, Mary. Oh, similar to Saddleback, this would be run by the college. And so there would be a manager, director of residence life there. There would be an administrative assistant supporting that as well. And there would be a building maintenance worker, plumbers, PD, I believe we've allocated as well. So no, it would not be a property managed run.
You want to do it now?
So
All
then
right.
this brings up the occupancy thing and the cost and the projection. So you've got a 7.5% conservative. Let's say we were at 100%, but aren't some of those going to be possibly RAs that are getting free
Right.
rent
That's
because they're working?
correct. That's factored in to the cost model. If
Oh, I didn't see it in the cost
Right,
model.
sorry.
I
That
saw
was
the resident director and I saw administrative, but I didn't see
right.
RAs.
There is RAs involved in that, and so I don't remember the exact amount, but we do have
We have 1.5%
1.5%, yeah.
vacancy for resident advisors.
okay.
And a
Right.
7.5% true vacancy.
Got it.
So, yeah, I saw the 7.5% assumption on vacancy rate. How does that compare with other current student housing across the state? Orange Coast has, is that true? They have a wait list?
They are 100% full now. It took
They're
them
at-
about 3 years.
They're
to-
at market rate,
They're
aren't
at
they?
market rate, yes.
Yeah,
Wow.
okay.
Yep.
So that's a,
yeah.
yes, there's a waiting list across the state.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I mean,
I mean, student housing in general, right now, vacancies are at almost record low levels. A lot of that is because a lot of institution types have growing enrollment, but it's also, there's just, as we've talked about earlier, a lack of supply. And so, you know, we're seeing across of the beds that we manage, that's roughly 82,000 beds. It's not uncommon for us to get up to 98% occupancy across the country.
yeah, no, you should be into it. On Coast Student Housing, I think it was in some prior presentations, but was that funded via a general obligation bond?
No, it's a P3.
Yeah.
Okay. And the P3 at market rate for us would be workable.
Well,
We're not that far away. What is it, 10 miles up the road?
I think P3s, so since the market turned and interest rates went up so high, the rates that they would now charge are going to be above market. So they're, that was one of the things that we were looking at when we did the feasibility study, when Scion was working on it. The P3 amounts were coming in higher than market in order to make it really profitable and affordable for the P3 developer to do it.
What's their NOI, do you know?
Well, just to add some context there, if we were to try to execute the Orange Coast College project today, the overall cost of capital would be about double what it is currently. So it was in roughly the 3% range there. And that coupled with construction costs are why, I mean, we run these numbers once every so often, but typically right now, it takes almost $1,500 a month in rent to break even on an off-campus student housing property. That's not an on-campus property, but that's about where it is, and that's just because of the cost of funds and the cost of the hard product.
Go ahead, Trustee Prendergast.
So having lived through this in college, at what point they're having these issues at the colleges now that they've got 1 bedrooms that are now 2 bedrooms, and they have 2 bedrooms that are now 4 bedrooms. They're stacking bunks, and is that something that we would run into, or would be, something we're allowed to do, or is it? I'm just curious what happens with the number of beds versus the number of rooms are 2 different things.
So if we were funded under this program, we would have to build a minimum of the number of beds that we put in. So at Saddleback, that was 400 beds. For IVC, that's 320 beds. You can have more beds, but the minimum number of beds have to be met. And you can't exceed the maximum amount of rent that you can charge. So those are our 2 constraints moving forward. So you could take a double, make it a quad, they would have nothing in the room except for 4 beds, or, take the single, make it a double. Probably be easier to take the single and make it a double, just add it in the bunk beds, but that is something that could be done.
Anne Marie, just to add to that, again, we were grappling with that, how many singles, how many doubles, when we were working through, because again, like Anne Marie said, the survey response really weighed heavy on the singles, and so clearly we couldn't do the singles. So we were trying to do the math and also make the math work, if you will. So the students really wanted the singles, and the doubles came up good as well. But I think any more, the students probably wouldn't like that.
They wanted the studios, not the singles.
Studios, thank you.
Yeah, own bathroom.
Correct.
Okay, let me turn over to the chancellor. I'd like to hear the perspective from her and maybe the colleges as well.
Yeah, obviously this is a matter that's of importance to all of us. Just starting off our meeting, hearing our students talk about, their own experiences with housing insecurities, and we're seeing that everywhere. So, what I really appreciate about the discussion is that it's really clear that this is a strong value and concern for all of us, our trustees and our college community. So I do want to thank the team, all of you, for your work in developing the proposal. And so what we know to be true is that obviously this is a super competitive process. And then there's all of these switcheroos happening at the state level with regard to funding. There's a lot of constraints. There's just a lot of changes and challenges as it relates to the funding piece of it. So obviously, we're going to continue to explore and unpack what we want and need to do with regard to actual student housing. That said, even if we were to be so fortunate as to be able to establish student housing, we heard the numbers, 400 students at Saddleback, 320 students at IVC, and we have 40,000 students in our district, about 40,000 students. So we have a lot of students who are housing insecure. So I know our presidents came prepared to talk a little bit more about some of the efforts that are underway with regard to how we are at the colleges supporting our housing insecure students. So I just wanted you to perhaps share a few comments about some of the other efforts that are underway.
Thank you, Chancellor Barnes. I do want to add that when we started these conversations about our student housing project, in all of our shared governance meetings, as well as our 2 town halls, we had one in February, one in May, that was attended by over 100 campus constituents, including students. It was important to set a realistic expectation. We know from the last round that the odds were quite high, and we knew that for the 24-25 funding cycle, the odds would even be greater, given that we now know that at least what has been floated was 95 million. And that would probably fund, if ours is 74, do the math. So part of our conversation was we wanted to do the due diligence and engage in this process, since we had a planning grant, to be able to submit. But the focus, I'd like to say, even at the first town hall in February, was very proactive about what are we doing now? Because even if we were funded, 320 beds is a drop in the bucket of the needs of our students. And even if we were funded, the earliest move-in, as you saw today, was 2028, and our students can't wait till 2028. So this past year, and I know both college presidents in the report have an addendum. If you haven't had an opportunity to review that, I would encourage you to. This past year, we have had some very intentional efforts to build our basic needs programs. And at IVC, we have a very robust program that has been developed, which in essence has a formal intake process, a case management. You heard one of our public comment speakers talk about we have MSW interns that are helping with that case management. You could see the emergency housing support available to students on a short-term basis in terms of hotel vouchers and those kinds of things. So we're going to continue to develop that. The one I just want to focus, and it was the last little paragraph in my addendum, is that we are exploring with the city of Irvine a basic needs partnership. Irvine was granted $6 million in one-time funds for homeless housing assistance and prevention program. They are required to dedicate a minimum of 10%, which is 600,000, to address homeless youth ages 12 to 24. And the city of Irvine has been in communication with both Irvine Unified School District and Irvine Valley College to begin to explore a partnership where we can continue to have a very engaging partnership, which would include things like rapid rehousing, which is short-term rental assistance and services, service coordination for students who are homeless, which again, navigating all of those services is very complex. So it includes case management, prevention and diversion, which will help find temporary and immediate shelter, as well as interim, which we're already doing, which is interim short-term vouchers at hotels and so forth. We just found out last week as well that we received a congressional earmark funds and $337,000 for basic needs that will add to the efforts that we are doing. And we realize that this whole housing basic needs issue really is an entire ecosystem that we need to partner with nonprofit community agencies, with the cities, and as well as our own homegrown programs to meet the immediate needs of our students. So I would just refer you back to the addendum in both of our college presidents' report, where you can see in much greater detail what we are currently doing for students now and how we're going to continue to develop, evolve, and be much more proactive, knowing that this is not, I love the way the counselor said, how do you address a student on academic probation when they are struggling with where they're going to live, where their next meal is coming from, or how they're going to get to campus?
Thank you. I also refer you to the addendum at the back of my president's report to the board. I think what I would highlight for you all at this point would be some of the new and innovative things that we're doing to try to respond to students who are houseless or housing insecure. But I would emphasize, by way of preamble, that none of this is a long-term solution. Everything we're doing should be congratulated and celebrated, but it won't touch the long-term needs of our students, where the government and county agents and nonprofits are failing, and our own mission is in danger of creeping because no one else is taking care of this problem. And we have to have more conversations about that going forward. And if that means looking at basic aid, I hope we can have that conversation, but recognizing that I am not advocating for supplanting existing construction projects on our FMP. But why are we not thinking about housing the way we think about educational buildings? I ask that basic question of you. Here are some of the things that we are doing in response to the housing crisis that we are currently facing. So what our college has done that's very unique among the state is, instead of doing a basic needs survey that gives aggregated data of where the needs are, we actually do a survey of individual students as they come in and respond to the needs that are identified by each student. It is not an anonymous survey. We actually respond. If a student says, I have technology needs, we reach out and get them a laptop loaner. If a student says, I have housing needs, we make an appointment immediately to see our basic care center, which is our area, as President Hernandez described, that each of the colleges are doing for intake. So in this year alone, just as we started to develop these basic needs centers, that survey revealed 349 students that responded that they were houseless or housing insecure, meaning they were on the edge of being houseless. 349 students. That might not seem like a lot out of 24,000, but that is hundreds of students that potentially would have filled the entire housing project that we were talking about building. So yes, these housing projects are necessary, but they're not going to go very far in helping us alleviate the problem we're facing. We had 195 students who actually signed up for a basic needs intake appointment regarding their housing needs. Our major way of doing this, as President Hernandez suggested, was with community partnerships and by trying to put together funding that we can for emergency grants. Our foundation, and we're very grateful to the donors of our foundation and to the foundation team, has shifted away from being primarily focused on scholarships to expanding their reach for emergency grants. This now is a multiple over what we do in scholarships in emergency grants. This past year alone, 457 emergency grants were given in the amount of $1,577,000 total dollars from over the course of the academic year. So that marks a serious shift from us. And the primary reason for a student getting an emergency grant, make no mistake, is for housing. They've fallen behind in their rent, they're about to be evicted. It's the most common reason why students apply for an emergency grant. We're also partnering, we have a partnership in place, a pilot with Airbnb for vouchers. Further agreement is pending on that. And like IVC, we refer to a variety of county agencies, but as you heard from earlier testimony this evening, most of those agencies do not have housing available for folks who need them. And what wasn't said from my own research is that the primary focus of those agencies is for young people, 18 to 24. If you're not in that age group, it's much harder to find housing for you. So none of this is a long-term solution, but we're doing what we can as this need is making itself known, and it's not getting any better. When we talk about a two-bedroom apartment in Mission Viejo, on average costing $2,800, the income necessary for two people, if we imagine two students in a two-bedroom, to put that together, would be over $60,000 a year. So if you take any two average students at my college, they cannot put together $60,000 in income. So our students cannot afford to live in the community that we are serving them in. Our students cannot afford to live near our colleges. And that means that increasingly they're going to have to commute further if we're going to maintain enrollment and serve those students. And increasingly we're going to have to figure out what to do to help them. That's the long-term solution. And that's a long-term problem, and I have nothing for that. Everything I've shared with you is short-term. It is just day-to-day trying to help people get by. I have no long-term solutions in anything that I have described. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
It's late.
Okay,
I have a
so,
question. I have another question now, sorry.
oh, okay.
So if we approve this on a vote, I don't know if I speak alone, but I feel like we would like to try and see our score higher to have a better chance of getting it. What was the score of the top 6 that got the last grant?
Top 6, 72, 71, 70, 70, 69, 68, and 67. Now, several of those were intersegmental, and so they got, an automatic 10 additional points as being an intersegmental, which we would not be able to get. I think the only thing that we could control without it being an intersegmental on increasing our points would be increasing the local contribution.
That's what I was afraid of. But even at that,
And that still
would
wouldn't get us there. I'm estimating we would be at 45, we would get another 8 points, bringing us to 53. We're not gonna get anywhere near a 67, which was the lowest that was funded.
But is it reasonable, like, those districts have already gotten theirs, so now you're going to what's left? Is there, like, the 10 or 11 that are above us, can we catch?
Well, it's
the
gonna be
next?
brand new ones. So this one's gonna be competing with brand new that I don't know who's out there. I've heard Cypress is resubmitting. I've heard Santa Ana is likely going to be submitting something. So we would be competing against those two. Cypress's start date would likely be before our start date. Santa Ana's, I can't imagine that they could get it done any quicker.
So were their scores higher than ours in the last round?
Santa Ana did not do anything.
Oh, I
Rancho
thought you
didn't
s-
submit anything
The ones that are
last time.
resubmitting, were they higher?
So
than us?
Cypress was, yes, Cypress just barely, they were like number 8. They had 67 points. But they got an additional 5 points last time because they had submitted for a construction grant in October when we submitted our planning grant. So they were considered a resubmission in January. They'll lose those 5 points in July because they're no longer considered a resubmission because they submitted in January.
Can I add that if we did increase our contribution, that would have an impact on our cash flow for projects that are currently in our facilities master plan. And so that would potentially delay at least probably our next projects, which is the Student Services Center and the Student Union.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted, any other questions, comments? I think the issue of housing and then housing the unhoused is the issue of our time. I mean, this is what we're dealing with in the state of California and in many other states. I think to your point, Dr. Stern, as I think I've said many times, I mean, this board, to our credit, has pushed this issue. We push it to the forefront. I've said, we had a disagreement, I think, with the last administration on prioritizing this issue, and we wanted to do it. So we pushed it forward, and that started with the feasibility study. So I think we're there. I think the board has been there on this issue. I think the manner and form and the financing, I mean, some of this is beyond our control in terms of the scoring, but, I mean, the need is there. We know it. We should do it. We should have done it a long time ago. We were late to the game a little bit. Not too much late, but a little bit later. And this lease revenue bond thing needs some clarity, but we're not gonna get that until after we submit, right?
Right. I know, the chancellor's office, I'm sure, is scrambling and trying to work with the Department of Finance. We got to see if the Department of Finance is even going to sign, AB 117, which is the budget trailer bill. Nothing's been signed yet. We don't have a budget that is approved by the governor. We'll know within, the next week. He has to sign it by June 30th. So there's still a lot of questions in the air of how it's going to work. But the due date is still July 3rd, as of right now.
Yeah, okay. All right, any other questions? Trustee Inman?
I move we extend the meeting until 9:30.
I thought we were just do a vote and then extend, but you
Oh.
can do it now. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Sure, we can. Well, I think
It's a quick.
we have to finish this. Let's finish this item, if you can,
Okay.
don't mind.
No, absolutely.
Okay.
I thought that's,
Because I think we're about to finish it. So we're now at the point where I see no questions or comments. Does anyone
I
want
do
to?
have one question
all right.
slash comment. I would really appreciate maybe at some point soon trying to maybe have a study session or something dedicated to this, because it is a very big issue, and trying to get it within, as our time extension is requiring, into one meeting sometimes is just gonna take a lot of time. So maybe having some sort of study session sometime soon that solely focuses on this and plans and opportunities to pivot if needed, I think would be a really good idea.
It's a great idea.
good idea.
But we have to make this decision tonight, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right,
Sorry.
okay.
So moved.
Go back, I hear a motion from trustee Rydell,
Second.
second from trustee Prendergast. I can't imagine there's more questions, but are there more questions? Okay. Thank you for your presentation. Let's go ahead and vote on the item. All right, the motion carries on a 7-0 trustee yes vote and a student advisory yes vote. Good luck. I hope we do well. And let's move on to the next, trustee Inman, I think you have a motion.
I move we extend the meeting until 9:30.
Second?
Okay, got a motion from trustee Inman to extend the meeting till 9:30 PM and a second from trustee Dack. We should go ahead and vote on the extension. The extension of the meeting till 9:30 PM is approved on a unanimous trustee yes vote and a student advisory yes vote. We're now on to 8.2, presentation of our fiscal year 2023-24 tentative budget. And who am I turning it over to?
I will turn it over to Connie Kavanaugh, our Executive Director of Fiscal Services, who will go through the budget presentation. And no pressure, Connie, but we only have 30 minutes for the entire board meeting left, so go quick.
I think I can talk really
Well,
fast.
just exhale, it's fine. You take your time.
Well, I apologize in advance. I had the luxury of vacation last week and I brought back a cold. So I will do my best to talk fast and not cough. So good evening. I'm here to present our tentative budget for the 23-24 fiscal year. Our tentative budget is just our draft budget. As you all know, we will see an adopted budget that will be presented to the board in August for approval. This budget is built off of the governor's May revised budget that came out obviously in May and includes just estimates of our actuals for our fiscal year 22-23 for our beginning balances. Just a quick reminder of our board philosophy and our budget. We want to make sure that we wisely use our public resources, promote financial strength and stability, and maximize our educational opportunities for our students. These are the budget guidelines that were approved by the board back in January. And just to highlight a couple, our reserve for economic uncertainties is very critical to our fiscal stability, making sure that we provide adequate resources to our area and college allocations, and that we can fully fund our retiree medical benefits and through our OPEB trust. This is a very summary overview of each of our funds and their budget that outlines the beginning balances, anticipated revenues and expenditures, and then our proposed ending balances. At the very top line there is our unrestricted general fund, and that's really our operating budget, what's available to us to fund all of our operations for the fiscal year at both the colleges and the district level. And so I'm just going to highlight that one, that we anticipate that we will begin the year with just over $92 million. We anticipate revenues of $353 million, expenditures of $360 million, leaving us with an ending balance of $85 million. The totals of all funds is identified there at the bottom, and that includes the substantial expenditures that we have budgeted for in our capital outlay fund. The assumptions that we use in the budget for our revenues are student-centered funding formula revenue, which, as you know, we're a basic aid district, which means we don't actually receive the student-centered funding formula allocation from the state, but we do still run the calculations as a mechanism to fund our colleges. So we have applied 8.22% COLA that's anticipated in the state budget, 0% growth, and we are still under emergency conditions allowance through the 22-23 fiscal year, so that ends beginning in the 23-24 fiscal year. We've budgeted our property tax revenues with an anticipated increase of 3.5%. Excuse me. Our unrestricted lottery revenues, we're anticipating at $4.7 million, and we are continuing to receive the Education Protection Act revenue of just over $100 per FTES, which is $2.3 billion. Our expenditure assumptions, we budget for step and column increases for all of our existing staffing, as well as any vacancies that we know of at the time of budget preparation. We have budgeted for the negotiated and anticipated increases in salaries as a result of the increase in the COLA. Our PERS and STIRS rates are outlined here for the 23-24 fiscal year. We've budgeted our health and welfare benefits at tentative budget at a 7% increase. Because at the timing of the budget, we didn't have all the final actual numbers and rates because those were not available till the end of May. So there will be a slight increase at adopted budget to those rates. Our unemployment insurance rate dropped to 0.05%, and workers' comp was budgeted at 1.25%, but since then we've received our actual rate, so that'll drop down to 1.24% for the adopted budget. Our reserve assumptions, last year we updated our board policy as a condition of receiving the emergency condition allowance that requires us to maintain reserve for economic uncertainties equivalent to 2 months of operating expenditures. So we have our standard 7.5% budgeted of our unrestricted revenues, and that's the $18.2 million. And additionally, we had to budget just under 9.4 million, which is 3.75% of our projected unrestricted expenditures for the colleges and district services to meet that reserve requirement. And we also budget a reserve for basic aid that's equivalent to 20% of our projected tax collections, and that's the $17 million. Just a highlight here of our draft model out calculations. So this represents all of the unrestricted revenues that we have budgeted for in the budget. Again, our SCFF revenues there at the top. That's calculated with the 8.22% COLA included. And we are still under the emergency condition funded FTES. So, sorry. The FTES is a 3-year average. And so for all 3 years, we were under the emergency condition allowance. So that's the final year that we have those higher projected FTES. So our total allocation for all the collection of revenues is on the first yellow line represented there. So for as district-wide, that's $259 million. Then we distribute any prior year contingencies or one-time funds that we anticipate, which is an additional 20 million. So the total sources of funds available for the colleges and district services is just over $280 million. And the last line above the green line there is our projected estimated ending balances for the 22-23 fiscal year. So next steps, as Anne-Marie mentioned, we're closely monitoring the state budget. It's currently on the governor's desk, but we don't yet know what will officially happen. So once they reach that agreement and the budget bill is signed, then we will take those final numbers and work on our adopted budget that will come before the board in August. And that budget, we will have closed the books by then, so all of our actual ending balances will be included as our beginning balances in the budget. That's as fast as I could get it. Any questions?
Okay, thank you for that. Do we have questions from trustees? No questions on the budget. I'll ask one then. I mean, or comment or question. I mean, I think is the theme of the day property taxes for us. I mean, it just, they seem to keep going up. And do we see that trend continuing? I guess we want houses to turn over, right? Isn't that what we like?
Correct. We see, property taxes are continuing to increase, although they aren't increasing at the fast pace or rate that they were in the past. I think about 4 years ago, they were increasing 5 to 6%. Then that's gradually declined. We're estimating, and actually the Orange County Assessor's Office is estimating a 3.5% increase between last year and the upcoming year. So that's what we've built into our budget. So we have, that has gone down significantly from 6% down to 3.5%. And as you said, it really is the turnover.
Yeah.
You need the turnover in order for your property taxes to increase, and you need the turnover in units that aren't in a trust.
Yeah, right. Okay. I guess I don't have any other questions on the budget, so thank you for your presentation today.
Thank you.
All right, is there a motion?
Second.
Who moved it? I got it. Motion from trustee Milchker, second from trustee Jay. Let's go ahead and vote. Carries on a 7-0 trustee yes vote and a student trustee yes vote. Okay, we are now on to, that ends our presentations, and we're on to consent calendar items. Do we have any polls for consent calendar items? Nope. Okay. Wow, good. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion from trustee Jay, second from trustee Milchiker. Let's go ahead and vote. The motion carries on a 7-0 trustee yes vote and a student advisory yes vote. The consent calendar is approved. Let's move on to 10.0, business services. We're now at 10.1. The award of a revenue agreement for bookstore operations at both Saddleback and IVC for Follett Higher Education Group.
Second.
Motion from trustee Milchiker, second from trustee Jay. I did have some questions on this, and they were answered today or the last couple of days by the executive staff. So, thank you for that. All right, let's go ahead and vote. Motion carries on a 7-0 trustee yes vote and a student trustee yes vote. 10.2, the award professional service agreements for our federal and state legislative advocacy services to Townsend Public Affairs. Is there a motion?
Second.
We have a motion from trustee Inman. Was that trustee Milchiker? Or, oh, student trustee Hitty. It did sound like a different voice. Great. Wow, that's great. Second from student trustee Hitty. Any questions? No, this is a change, a pretty big change, yeah. So,
Is there a reason we don't like the ones we've been using?
I'll let the administration respond.
Yeah, so we went out to bid, and so there's a document there in the board agenda. We went out to bid, and we did give an opportunity for our current agency to come back with their best and final, and there's still over a $100,000 difference in the bid.
Wow, thank you for telling.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm gonna miss them.
The only, do you want to say something, trustee Milchiker? I don't think your mic's on.
I had questions earlier, but I did discuss it with the chancellor, and I had my questions answered, actually.
So the only thing I would say is that on the federal side, I was surprised that we only had 2 bids. I mean, there are literally 12,000 lobbying firms in Washington, D.C., and I'm probably understating it. And many of them represent California entities. So I was a little surprised that we had 2 bids. But is there, to business services, is there a reason why we only had 2 bids? Or no, did I miss some?
No, we did only receive the 2 bids on the federal side. You know, we advertised the RFQ in the Orange County Register on 2 different weeks. We sent it directly to 6 firms, and then we also sent it out to 53 additional firms through the Planet Bid system. So we tried to cast a broad net to get proposals submitted, but as you see, we only had 2 people that proposed on the federal side.
Yeah, okay.
What's the danger we get what we pay for? Like, we've not really had a problem with the other group on the federal side, so I'm just curious.
I think and I may turn it over to Letitia, who kind of led it, but the firm that's being proposed is a very reputable firm that we checked the references on, and the references came back very well. So it's not like it's a new firm that no one's used before.
I think the only risk is, funding, relationships, and so, but as Vice Chancellor Gable mentioned, Townsend Public Affairs has a really good reputation in Orange County, Sacramento, and DC. So I'm not concerned about the relationships. They have strong relationships. And it's just going to be a matter of, getting to know their staff and their principal and ensuring that they have those connections throughout the colleges and the district staff. There is a representative here from TPA, Corey, and she wanted to be here to speak on the matter just in case, but for anyone who's interested in meeting her this evening, that there is a possibility. If you're open to it, maybe Corey can speak to just their years of experience, not only here in Orange County, but throughout the state, and in DC. But again, they've worked with a lot of districts. I'm not concerned about the relationships. And in fact, they did score so high with the committee because their presentation was just really amazing and wowed us with their success rate in winning grants and getting funds for the districts that they represent and connecting their districts with elected officials at the federal, state, and local levels, which is something that we really value, in this district. So, Corey.
Thank you, President, members of the board. I'm Corey Takinen with Townsend Public Affairs. We have been around, this is our 25th year in service. We offer state advocacy, federal advocacy, and funding advocacy. And as far as we know, we are the only firm based in California that offers that trifecta of services to our clients. We also work for primarily public agencies. We've represented over 300 public agencies in the last 25 years. And in that business, we understand you're a public agency. While I would say we would love to charge $20,000 a month retainers, that's not what we do. We represent you, we represent your constituents, we understand who you are, who you serve, how you make revenue, and we want to price accordingly so that we can represent as many public agencies as possible to really bring back money and help advocate for your priorities in Sacramento and in Washington, D.C. We really pride ourselves on being champions for better communities and helping to build legacy projects in the communities, which is why we work for public agencies. We don't work on the private side. I'm happy to answer any specific questions. I don't want to take up too much of your time.
Yeah, I had a question, but I think Trustee Prendergast had a question.
So this is the one we had for any entity we have that lobbies for us in Sacramento. As you heard, our big thing is basic aid. And we've had situations where a firm represents a district that's trying to get our basic aid taken away, and then also is trying to represent us to keep our basic aid. So I'm just curious what your knowledge is of that, and do you have those conflicts?
So the other two community college districts that we represent are Coast Community College District and Rancho Santiago Community College District, which are part of the task force that you all belong to. I will be honest with you, I am not our community college expert. Casey Elliott, my colleague in Sacramento, is, and then I have two colleagues back in Washington, D.C. that handle all of our community colleges. I'm based in our Orange County office, and I was able to be here tonight to help answer questions. I was obviously listening to the presentation about student housing, the funding program, the grants, the challenges. The state is going through a lot of budget negotiations right now. The governor is not happy with the assembly. We've heard he's going to veto the budget bill tomorrow. So there's a lot of negotiations in Sacramento that are going to be up in the air the next couple days, and a lot of these things are going to be on the table.
I just wanted to make mention that the basic aid districts have come together in our state, and we actually work with a special agency on our basic aid status.
Yeah.
Can I just mention something really quick, President Jamal? During our interviews, that did come up about the conflicts with other districts, and I know working with Capital Advocacy Partners, we always really champion that they only worked with our district so that we had that kind of priority with them. TPA assured us, and Christopher Townsend, the principal, assured us that if there was ever a conflict, that he would basically pay to ensure that we got services either from another firm of our choice. If something came down to that matter where there was a conflict with another district, and if there was, basic aid on the table. But that just told me that he would ensure that any conflict would be resolved and that he would, and pay for it and ensure that we have the best services possible to advocate for our priorities and our needs. So that went a long way in asking that question.
So I just have, thank you for being here tonight. I don't want to get in the weeds too much, but do we know who in Townsend is going to be assigned to us in DC and in Sacramento? You know that already?
Yes,
You can say that?
It will
Who will that
Casey Elliott in Sacramento, one of our vice presidents, in Washington, D.C. It will be Ben Goldine, our federal advocacy manager, and Joseph Mello, who handles our community colleges as well.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, motion from trustee Prendergast?
Second.
You could say, we'll both second it.
A close second, yeah. Second from trustee Milchiker.
Okay.
And let's go ahead and vote on the item. Motion carries on a 7-0 trustee yes vote and a student trustee yes vote. Congratulations. Okay, we are on to 10.3, which is the fiscal year 2025-29 5-year construction plan, initial project proposals and final project proposals. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion. I move.
Motion, trustee Milchiker.
10.3.
Second from trustee Witt. And a question from trustee Prendergast.
So, just wanting to get clarification on the process. Because I remember a 5-year plan where there was a lot of work surveying people throughout the district for the academic plan to match the 5-year plan. And it was my understanding at that time that when that 5-year plan ended, they would probably go through that process again. But reading this says that we get a new 5-year plan every year, which means we're basically just 5-year planning 1 year at a time. That's not a 5-year plan in my registration. And you know where I'm going with this, right, Melanie? At what point is there going to be another check to see what matches our academic plan, what matches our priorities with housing, what matches our priorities with, I don't know, some athletic facilities at IVC? Because it just keeps rolling down the line, and the 5-year plan is really not a 5-year plan.
So the 5-year plan is a requirement of the chancellor's office that we submit every year based upon our capital facilities projects. We base the prioritization of the 5-year plan from the facilities master plan. So we're basing it off the facilities master plan that was developed and approved by the board in 2020. At that point in time, that was when we went through the entire cycle of updating our district's academic and strategic plans, the district technology strategic master plan. So all of our plans were developed and I would say intertwined within the last 3 years. Every year within our capital improvement committee, which is what we call KIC, we reevaluate the prioritization and determine whether or not the facilities master plan is still meeting the needs of the colleges. And if it is, then we move forward, you know, how the facilities master plan was kind of laid out. And remember, the facilities master plan that we did, that was a 20-year plan. It covered fiscal year 2020 through 2040. So I would say we're looking at it every year. The colleges are looking at it. They bring their representatives to the capital improvement committee after they've had their discussions on campus for what their priorities are. You know, we add new things every year into the prioritization, although the campus does not want, I don't want to say does not, the campus has not chosen yet to fund your facility that you would like at Irvine Valley College as of yet. And then student housing, we do have within the 5-year plan this year, we added the student housing for Saddleback because we had already submitted the application and we showed the match in there that was needed. So I would say that we are looking at it annually. And so to your point, is it really a 5-year plan? It is a 5-year plan that's adjusted annually based upon the needs of the colleges.
So the facility master plan was not a 5-year plan. It was a
Correct.
20-year plan.
Correct.
And so any item that's not in the master plan has no chance of getting into the facilities 5-year construction plan.
Not correct. So we do add new things. You know, we haven't, so this year we added things such as the baseball field renovation at Saddleback. We had,
I mean, again, I'm 100% behind student housing having priority over anything like a pool at IVC. 100%. But, like I said, when I see soccer field renovations and other renovations, how do we get the athletic department and/or administration at IVC to start thinking about an aquatics facility? Instead of it being,
so I'll let Dr. Hernandez answer that, but I will say that some of the new projects that were added this year that weren't on the original facilities master plan. You know, we had battery storage for electronic vehicle chargers at Saddleback College. We had the greenhouse for biology and horticulture at Saddleback College. I mentioned the baseball turf and scoreboard replacement at Saddleback. That was a new project. We had parking lot 7, temporary to permanent for IVC was a brand new project, along with some EV chargers at IVC, baseball team room. That's not helping the cause at IVC. And then we
slight
had,
discrepancy in cost difference there, but yeah.
there are, library maintenance renovation and related swing space at IVC. So there are, you know, each year, there are several new projects that get added in to the 5-year plan that weren't initially on the FMP. But it stems up through the colleges on what they want to propose for the KIC proposal that then goes to our District Resource Allocation Committee, which we call DRAC, for basic aid funding. Now, Dr. Hernandez, you can answer why or why not you want a pool at your campus.
Yeah, you don't have to answer that. But what you're saying is there's a chance.
There's always a chance.
But like I said, for right now, for me, absolutely housing is a number one priority. I really think to Trustee Dack's point, we really need to figure out if there's a way we can sit down and figure that out. And unfortunately, if it's any time in the next couple of months, I won't be at that special meeting, but I think everyone here would represent me very well. Because they know that that is a big one for me, more so than the pool. But,
Well, I certainly hope so.
Oh, my God.
oh, I don't know, we spent $69 million on an athletic facility. You know, not to rub that the wrong way, but
But I think you raised,
mean-
I think you raised a good point earlier. We didn't really address it, which requires, you know, I think, or Anne Marie mentioned it based on your questioning, is that I see the time. That we, you know, reprioritization. I mean, okay, and when I heard you say, well, we'd have to reprioritize, but my response would be, okay. I mean, things happen.
yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely think it's something we can do in a study session this fall, looking towards next year's basic aid allocation. Because that comes to you guys in April. So in April of '24 is when we bring that. So if we had the study session and all the discussions in the fall, that would give us time to work it through the campus governance, thank you. I was gonna say constituents, but the campus governance, and then get to the district governance.
Okay.
To see where we want to go. And by that time, we should know what's happening with the lease revenue bond program at the state level, unless he vetoes the budget. So
Sounds like he might.
All right. Okay.
All right.
Well, we need another motion to extend the meeting.
I'll move.
So moved.
Okay.
Second,
To how long?
Okay.
at 10.
Okay, so a motion
10.
from trustee Jay to extend the meeting to 10 PM. Who seconded it?
I'll second.
Second from trustee Prendergast. Let's go ahead and vote. Motion carries on a 7-0 trustee yes vote and a student trustee yes vote. We are
Yes.
Now on to 10.3.
It's kind of nice.
No, we just approved 10.3.
No, you haven't.
Oh, no, we did 10 point,
10.4.
We were still answering questions.
I thought we just,
Motion, it was moved and seconded.
oh, we didn't vote. Okay, so let's go ahead and vote. Motion carries on a 7-0 unanimous trustee yes vote and a student trustee yes vote. All right, we're on 10.4. B200 building prep room at modernization at Irvine Valley College. Award of a bid to SSK Construction, or SSNK Construction. Is there a motion? Motion, trustee Inman,
I second it.
second from trustee Jay. Any questions? Okay, let's vote. The motion carries on a 7-0 trustee yes vote and a student trustee yes vote. We're now on to 10.5, Saddleback College Generator Upgrade Project, Math Science LRC, the award of a bid to Amtech Construction. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion from
Second.
trustee Inman, a second from trustee Jay. Any questions? No, let's go ahead and vote. We have a unanimous trustee yes vote and a student trustee yes vote. 10.6, Irvine Valley College Direct Access Energy Services Provider Agreement, Constellation New Energy. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion from trustee Rydell.
Second.
I'll give it to trustee Inman. It's the second, and let's go ahead and vote. Motion carries on a unanimous trustee yes vote and a student trustee yes vote. All right, we're now on to 11.1, academic employees and academic classified administrator manager personnel items for ratification.
There is a change and a readout. The change is 11.1B2. The contract for Diana Lerner was going to end on July 31st, 2023. Dr. Elliott Stern asked us today to extend it until August 31st, 2023, because we are on track with the hiring of a director of health services at Saddleback College. However, he's unsure it will be done before July 31st. So the ending date for that contract for Diana Lerner will be August 31st, 2023, and here's your readout. The first position you'll be approving by contract is a Dean Instructional Support and Teaching Innovations, Dr. Kim D'Arcy. Contract dates June 19th, 2023 through June 30, 2025. Range 22, step 3, annual salary 192, 132. The position Acting Dean, Student Health Center, Dr. Diana Lerner, that will be extended from June 1st, 2023 through August 31st, 2023. That is the change. Range 23, step 3, annual salary 153,705. That's an 80% contract prorated. Number 3 is position interim director of learning assistance. That is Ms. Jennifer McConkey. Contract dates July 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2023. Range 17, step 2, annual salary 147,420. And the final contract, executive director, College Foundation, would extend to Ms. Alyssa Aransky from July 1st, 2023 through June 30, 2025. Range 22, step 8, annual salary 252,864. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion from trustee Rydell,
Second.
second from trustee Inman. Any questions? Okay, let's vote. Motion carries on a unanimous trustee yes vote, and unanimous trustee yes vote. Okay. 11.2, classified personnel actions and ratifications. Any changes?
No changes.
No changes. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion from trustee Rydell, second from trustee Jay. Any questions?
No, I just have
Trustee Milchiker.
a comment. I sometimes mention people that are retiring that I have worked a number of years. And there's Ron Lemon, who is a systems storage administrator. He's worked 14 years and 6 months and he's retiring. Colette McClellan from the Child Development Center. She's worked 38 years and 11 months. And she was 2 of my children's preschool teachers at Saddleback College. And she did a beautiful job. And now these kids that were preschool there were preschool students in the preschool at Saddleback College have kids of their own, so that's how long she's been here. And Christine Swanson, who's been here 8 years and 10 months, so that's that. So,
Okay. Thank you for that. So let's go ahead and vote. Motion carries on a unanimous trustee yes vote. All right. We're now on to Educational and Technology Services, 12.1, accreditation update. Is there an update, or are we just? Okay. Okay, all right. Do we have a motion to approve the accreditation update? Motion trustee Inman, second from trustee Rydell. Any questions?
Phenomenal work.
A lot of work.
Oh, there we go. Okay. I was waiting for it. Motion carries on a unanimous trustee yes vote and a student trustee yes vote. 12.2, Saddleback College and Irvine Valley College Fall 2023 Community Education Programs. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Motion from trustee Jay. Second from trustee Dack. Any questions? No, let's go ahead and vote. Motion carries on a 7-0 trustee yes vote and a student advisory yes vote. All right, we're now on to our information items. 13.1, staff response to public comments from the previous board meeting. And feel free to jump in as I go through the items if you have questions. The list of board requested reports. 13.3, CCC student trustee member election, 2023. 13.4, facilities plan status report. 13.5, monthly financial status report. 13.6, HERF monthly summary. 13.7, retiree OPEB trust fund. 13.8, district initial proposal to faculty association. And then 13.9, faculty association initial proposal to district. All right, we're now into our reports from our administration. And the first report will be from Chancellor Barnes.
All right, page 1 of 10. I just have a really quick reflection. I always hear all the quotes, and I'm like, that's so profound. And I wasn't really trying to think of a quote, but I was just thinking about things tonight and just in general at the end of the year, all the celebrations on all that. And you know how we often say, those were the good old days, and we look back at a particular time and we feel warm and fuzzy about a particular time and the people we were around and how we felt at the time. Those were the good old days. And it just really dawns on me that, and actually I'm feeling emotional while I'm saying this, that right now, these are the good old days. These are the good old days. And I think a decade from now, 2 decades from now, we're going to look back and think about the colleagues with whom we're working, our faculty, our classified professionals, our board members, our leadership, all the student accomplishments, all of the employee accomplishments, and just the good work that we're doing every single day for our students. And I think we're going to look back and say, these are the good old days. So we're living the good old days right now. So I just wanted to share that reflection because I'm just so proud of everyone and just all the good work that you do on behalf of the students. So that is my report.
Thank you for that uplifting report. Irvine Valley College President,
No
John
report.
Hernandez, no report. All right. That was probably a wise decision.
I said I was not going to have a report, but our chancellor did not say anything about becoming president of the CEO board
Yes,
for the
I
state.
know.
So may I, on behalf of both colleges and the district, congratulate you and tell you how proud we are that they will have your brain at that level, and that we will have greater impact with the state chancellor's office, with the league, and so forth. So we are very happy for that and sing your praises, even though you will not do that for yourself. No further report from me.
And I'm glad you said, sorry, I mean, I made a note to myself internally to say something and I didn't, so that prompted me. Congratulations, well-deserved. I think your rise as a leader is going to be fun to watch, and I think this is just another step.
Just so you know, even this weekend on Sunday, I had to write a letter to one of our senators. I was like, wow, it's starting, so. But the work is really on behalf of our district and the state and all the California community colleges, so thank you.
We're lucky to have you. You're great.
All right. Vice Chancellor of Business Services, Anne Marie Gable.
I think I've said enough tonight. No, nothing further.
Okay. We're now on to Vice Chancellor of Human Resources.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you quickly to the Faculty Association. I think this is the earliest we've ever both submitted our initial proposals. The faculty negotiations typically take longer because we so enjoy sitting at the table talking to one another. But I want to thank them for their efforts because this is the earliest we've sunshined, and I think that bodes well for the next year of negotiations, so thank you.
All right, and bringing us to the close will be the Vice Chancellor of Technology, or Educational and Technology Services.
Well, no, there is a comment this time. I wanted to congratulate the colleges on getting their accreditation reports done. And I think we should recognize Vice President Vo Kumamoto and Vice President Miranda, who serve as the ALOs, who were able to herd the cats and get everything on time. It's the end of my report.
Yeah, no, well done on getting those reports in. So that concludes our meeting. Have a good night, everybody.